Okay, welcome to the last one of this event, which is by mageius1, who will be showing us today Macross Shooting Insight. With that, let's see what they have to offer. Okay, you're ready. Please introduce yourself, introduce everyone, and tell me whenever to start the time.
Should be all good on my end.
Yeah?
Good. Just saying I should be all ready to go whenever you need me.
I already did the introduction. I had to defeat myself.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
You're already live.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Stop putting my glasses quick. How are you all this morning? I guess getting tagged in last minute does come with its own challenges for events, but hi all, I'm mageius1. This will be a run of Satomi on normal with the DLC. First things first, I gotta show that yes, everything's good, the DLC is on. This is part of the run, and one of the reasons I put that there is because you can adjust the power and the health. And gotta show it's the default. Anyway, this is Satomi, our hero. And let's see, trying to remember which Macross thing they are from. They are from Frontier, if I recall correctly. So, we want to pick our character. And before starting, I'm going to set up our set list for today. Think of this as a... because of the way the idols system works and giving us buffs, it's a lot easier to be able to... oh, I don't know... listen to some amazing music, and that's something I always try to do in a marathon setting, is introduce more people to the Macross franchise's amazing music, as that's one of the things they are known for. That there... hold on a minute, sorry. It's been a bit, so just give me a second there. What's that there? That there, that there. And then that there for... yeah, that there, that there, that there, that there, that there. Okay, there we go. Now, the one drawback about reading things in Japanese... sorry, it's a bit harder to actually do that. There. Only there. That there. That there. Push that up. B. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I was forgetting whether it was X or B. Anyway, all, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hopefully, started time on that one there. Assuming they did. Anyway, so welcome to Macross Shooting Insight.
Yes, I did.
Good, good, good. Sorry about the earlier part. Anyway, Satomi here is one of the heroes from Mac. As I said, I'm not sure if it's Delta or Frontier. I'm assuming the giant F is Frontier on that one, which is the one of the franchises, I believe, that has the a complete sort of J-pop idol group. Don't quote me about everything on that one there. It is hard to know about everything on Macross, and I have not seen all of the anime. But the best way you can think about Macross is a combination of I believe one of my fellow fans of it is basically described it as idols, mechs, love, and space. Which I know sounds a lot weird on that one there, but Macross is known for the one of the shows that helped bring the transforming mech genres, to the forefront. In fact, fans of later on Gundams and stuff like that, this is one of the shows that helped pioneer that whole idea. I shouldn't say just show because it was, an entire franchise starting in the 1980s. And you notice that each character had stats that does affect things. So even though this is on normal, it is actually a lot harder than it is because Satomi's health is not the best. nor is his attack strength. But you see now the Battleoid, the giant robot version of Valkyrie. Yes, the Norse mythology references. I'd say it's more the maidens for that one there, because the military style stuff with the whole idea of, you know, sort of like how cars and other things like that are usually referenced in the female perspective. I'll pop my attack there. I have not built my health, but if you're wondering why the basic auto healing, that's because this move does not normally give good healing. I mean, at all. They like only give you like what you got at the end of each miss, and then a tiny bit of healing, because it's trying to replicate that like you don't get much healing on a battlefield situation. And we're at our first boss. Don't ask me for the names of the songs, because it's hard to remember on that one there, but I am going to be trying to showcase a lot of them when I can, which means that I've got to play a certain way to extend out some of the fights of bosses, to be able to give you all the ability for that one there. We'll slowly go over here, so like go like that there. Missiles. Pop the missiles in there so I can pick up these crystals, which are for powering up our weapon. Right over here. Bullet left. Pop a missile here quickly, and finish the first boss. Now, as you can see, my health is really going down really quick. So that's one of the reasons why Satomi is a bit harder than my other major character, Shin, who is the hero of Macross Zero, which is a sort of prequel that they did later on for, I think it was like the 15th anniversary or something like that, or 20th. This franchise has been around since 1982. So we're going to skip the actual score on that one. The run's done in real time because, honestly, the game, if you take a death, not only does it restart you at the start of a stage, but the only real tracking for IGT it's got, or in-game time, is essentially for boss and for the Battleoid sections where you are destroying towers. If you're wondering about the story, think of this as like the fan celebration, let's have all the characters actually meet up in a random way story. So we're going to move that there, move down here, target that there. For those wondering, control scheme wise, I am actually using a Switch Pro controller. The game is out on other systems, but I own it for the Switch. It's also out on PC, and is the first game with an English translation, at least if you have the PC version. They did release it in the US and in Europe, but the reason why I'm using this one is because we're enjoying the DLC, and due to certain things with Robotech, don't get me started on that one. It's cut a whole long line of like actual legal side of stuff on, like, thanks to the 80s and having to combine certain things together for the whole idea of creating, you know, the meeting syndication limit, you know, episode counts, that they had to combine a few things together, and Macross was one of the parts that they used for that one there, so it's complicated. It's had a long and complex history. Anyway, we're going to try to line up here. If you notice that I'm using the missiles, that's actually bound to my right analog stick, with movement being on the left. And if you notice up in the upper right corner around there, that you see a thing going up. The lower one is the multiplier, the upper one is how strong my actual lasers are. We want to have that as high as possible. And the little crystals are what is giving me extra power up for that. And Satomi, although not having as much firepower, has great dodging and a lot of extra missiles, so it makes it a bit easier. Plus also the giant laser does make it actually quite easy enough to help with making sure that I've got movements properly and lineups for stuff. So I can do stuff like this. The other characters have a lot of different styles, and you figure, like, well, why wouldn't you want, like, the spread weapon? Well, the problem is that it doesn't deal a lot of damage. Which is one of the things about the idle music here, is that it is meant to actually help replicate the show's idea of, you know, boosting up morale on the battlefield, like giving some, a bit of stuff to that one there. Alright, was at level 5, but well, I'm gonna use this to our advantage to avoid some of the shots. Get up close here. Set that up there, so we'll get some stuff here. Okay, got the upper one. Sometimes there's some RNG where the bosses spawn. And this buff here is essentially the, they have less projectiles. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I just up to 5. Oh, nope, I am. Sometimes sitting back in the distance is a bit harder, but there's our second stage. Don't ask me for the names of the songs, but if you look up Macross music on YouTube, and highly recommend I do, you'll find like 40 years worth of amazing songs, including like full fact that they have had actual music appear, you know, in actual proper albums and stage shows, and actual concerts because of the whole idol culture. This is going to be one of those. This is actually one of the franchises that popularized, you know, that actually outside of just an anime form. That there. Tank a hit there. There. Line ourselves up perfectly there to avoid the damage and get rid of the last of these, I don't know if you call them sensors or stuff like that. Again, understanding the story is, well, a bit hard since I am not playing this version and I am not going to spend like the $30 to get it on PC to understand the story, and I don't want to rebuy it on the Switch either because it's like having both things on there. And with Steam and how hard it is to actually get games outside of your default country, especially with DLC, for those that have ever tried it, it's one of those complicated messes to some degree. But we're going to move here, line up here, use our missiles there to target to the edge, avoid things to make sure I can keep my health alive. Now the little jamming things that you've seen me blow up at one occasion is what allows me to get the items. Is what allows me to get the power-ups from the items, which each of them do a variety of different effects. And what I did at the beginning was adjust the actual which idol I am seeing for its stage, which is exclusive to the arcade mode. And that is one thing that it hasn't really been decided yet whether or not it's worth allowing it on the leaderboard or not, as story mode's another, you know, thing on that one there. But essentially, what I did was convert the one with less you know, actual attacks on screen to this stage versus the second stage because of being able to dodge more enemies. So it makes this boss a bit easier versus the other boss, which since you can go around the one boss and have full movement, it's not as necessary. Also say hi to, God, I forget his name, but the leader of the Fire Bombers. Yes, that is the in-game name for the band. This was from, I believe it was Macross Plus. It was their one for rock and roll from the 90s. We're gonna move up there, here, avoid the attacks. Need a hit there, but use it for our advantage. Pop that there, so you try to not die, because that will help. Part of the estimate is really sort of help with the fact of possibly dying, as if I do die, I have to repeat an entire stage. Not sections, stage. That's one of the other reasons why real time is used. And since after watching root of the game, that I'm not the best at smubs, and because of the low, you know, not really able to heal as much, I'd rather allow players to have access to the lowest level of that one. And speaking of that one, one of the only updates in this game was to add a second level to auto healing. But it's a good way to actually allow more people to check out a game and be good for a speedrun. I am a huge fan of allowing those, allow those sort of accommodations where it's not going to be that bad, or it actually helps, for more accessibility purposes. And the one good thing about shmups is it's great for teaching you control, you know, and like planning out every bit of your movement. And unlike other games, you know, like platformers, you don't have to be precise. You just have to be good at moving your, you know, character over the screen. Careful, careful. There's actually a difference to playing things on a lower difficulty because you're used to moving certain spots in certain ways to avoid certain enemies, and if they're not there, it does dramatically change how you move. And also that's true with lower health as well. As you can see here, like having to move in certain ways to be able to avoid attacks versus when there would be some and when there won't be some. But that is one of those things that just makes these types of runs always good. They're always different, but they are also just like so fun to like learn. Like, I'd say honestly, you know, Shooting Insight is a great little game to learn the basics of, as is like one of the other games that I run, which is Robotech the Macross Saga, which is good at, you know, picking up the basics for a horizontal shmup or shoot 'em up. But I'll be honest, it's one of those types of genres that it's easy to learn because you don't have to like really learn about movement as much. It's all about just like can I control my character on screen? Can I, you know where I am and just root out a screen? Just like constantly moving, like you see me here. It's more not so much pattern recognition because there is some changes to it, but doing something like that optimally is a skill in and of itself. Because you want to get things as close as possible, want to make sure that you have everything perfect. And as for the stage, attacking the Ryans, the aliens that are taking out are not so much true aliens as they are like they're not so much drones, but they're like drones but being controlled by others, you know, outside of space. Also say hi to Min-Mei, the idol from the original Macross. From the actual original Macross. And we're gonna set that up there. Line up perfectly. The reason why you've been seeing me get to the center of the screen for transitions is because the game does that sort of semi-Mega Man 1-ish thing where it slowly gets to a spot during the cutscene, so it's easier to just set up things. And Min-Mei's bonus is that it slows down enemy attacks. DLC exclusive, I do. Pop that there just so I can avoid stuff. One of the things about the missiles here is it is basically the traditional full screen right. Hold on a minute, need to dodge sticks. Tsutomi does have a very good dodge roll. Really want to line that up there. And set things up so that way I can use this. Avoid things. Especially that one there. Set things up there. Want to set things up perfectly here. Avoid things here. Remind me if I set up for a minute. Okay mode. There we go. So I could have dragged that out just a tiniest bit more, but see, a lot of their songs have been, you know, more pop, stuff like that. Some of them have been love songs. Fun fact about Min-Mei, and do you remember Love, the second movie? That the voice actor's performance in that was good enough to actually break the title song for the film into the actual mainstream, you know, pop culture charts back there. I think it hit 40, which for an anime, you know, piece of music in the 1980s is pretty good and pretty important. The franchise has done a lot of things and hasn't shied away from, you know, interesting topics before. Like I said, I still haven't seen all of it. For those that actually have, I guess now it's Disney Plus, considering Hulu is owned by Disney, and they brought it together on that one there, or at least are supposed to. You'd have to watch it through there, but it is well worth checking out the entire franchise where you can. I'm not going to say other spots, but YouTube is your friend and a few other things. We're going to line up here with these missiles here. Line up here, down there. And if you're wondering how I'm able to do this while playing a scrub, because I'm used to doing this on harder difficulties, that's the one good thing about a shoot 'em up. It's good for teaching you, like, just like I said before, just screen presence, just pure screen presence. And like, where am I on screen? You know, health management, and unlike a platformer, it's like with a platformer you can control a lot more different things. You can control like what you're doing, what you're doing, and you have to worry more about your jump height and other stuff like that. This is more about, you just have to worry about controlling your character's position. And like I said earlier about difficulties, you can see how, like, I'm doing okay on his one. Part of the reasons why it's like that is because I have less health. I'm a huge fan of, like, if there's a difference in stats in a game, there should be actual separate categories for it, because it does dramatically change how you're doing things. And sadly, this mission is slow enough that you really can't get the full song for this one. Sadly, as it is a very big, well-known one called Dynamite Explosion. Don't worry, we'll get to hear it as part of the end game thing. And we're in our gear walk mode. Gear walk. Don't ask me how to pronounce it perfectly there. And we're gonna pop this here. Although I could hold the missile attack out for longer, I tend to just pop it quickly on some things where it's going to clean the screen out to some degree, just because it's like they gave you a vertical swap attack, screen clearing attack level in a horizontal space. So if you can imagine, just that destroys like the screen, like destroys enemies on the screen pretty well, especially when they are giant. Moving here just so that way I can avoid things. Perfectly here. I take that out quicker and got the quick kill. What I mean by that is I killed the enemy and had them die before the health bar reached 0. It's a bit harder to do, and I don't know if it's just a visual thing or if you're generally killing them slightly faster. I like to hope that counts as that, but also, let me know if anybody's actually in chat, because I don't have it pulled up right now, sadly. But hopefully people are enjoying it. Not bad. And mashing through stuff so I can get stuff, you know, healed up fast as anything. Like I said, you know, in a marathon type situation, I try to actually let y'all get a sort of taste of like the music that's in this game, all of which is from the show. So we're gonna like this, line up here, align ourselves here, you know, actually use the controls. Like I said, I myself, because I don't have a lot of time to practice some games, try to come up with ways to actually help improve an entire skill set versus just trying to learn run perfectly. Sort of helps those that, you know, might not have a lot of time develop or allow them to change skill sets pretty easily. Go like down here, over here. And I'm also a bit rusty also. Combine that with Satomi's not so high health. And that's sort of why I chose the category. It sort of gives that, like, okay, I can give you all some excitement while making sure that I'm not going to make it look very bad. Which is sometimes like what you gotta pick perfectly on a last minute thing for a marathon. So we'll go around here, use this here, avoid the missiles here. Plus also for some reason the Switch version you do sometimes avoid shots. I don't know if that's Switch exclusive or not. If it's a developer thing or not one, considering when the game came out. I'm assuming at this point it's either not noticed or it's developer intended to be able to have some of the shots not actually have a hitbox / hurt box from enemies. You have the hitbox, they don't have one of you, so you take what you can get. Although this game does actually give a bit of a pure 3D feel, and I actually find it amusing reading the Steam things on that one, considering they can considering some of the reviews for it, like, this is a bullet hell, this is hard. It's like, even without the auto healing, which the only thing that prevents you is from submitting stuff to online leaderboards. Which, if you're just playing for fun, or in a speedrun sense, you don't really care about score leaderboards, because you're trying to go fast. You're not going to stick around for like 5 minutes to get that perfect kill, like, get every point possible. I mean, I am trying to do that to some degree, just because the higher your score, the more enemies you don't have to deal with. So yes, that is some tech to why you see score runners try to get everything. And also in a speedrun sense, you try to do what you can do. Now we're up to the example of why the missile attack is so good, and I try to save those for bosses and for what, because that takes time to recharge. So I do it like this, quickly dodge like that one there, roll like that, and this time that there, but here's what it is. Roll there, pop this attack there, or our missile or Oz. So like we're supposed to keep maintaining at a 5. We're going to position ourselves here. Set ourselves up here. Use this here. Pop this attack here to actually let things go. Collect all the gems here. Find a spot to just sit it perfectly. One of the nice things is that it does also screen clear the attacks on screen, so I'll pop that there and finish through. And we'll again line up, because if you notice, not, you have a slight delay in the screen zoom in, so because it's a lot more efficient to line up perfectly in the center, just it saves a small second here and there. It's noticeable after a little bit of time. We're gonna stage clear. Now, I do have to say, the music in the game is very chill and good, especially in combat stages, not just the idle music. And for if you're wondering how the franchise got started, story-wise and lore-wise, the first Macross game, first Macross, so essentially humanity was in the midst of a global war, like the old World War III type thing, but not, as dangerous. And essentially, it ended in a single night. That's because, in a single night, they had an alien ship crash land in it was South Pacific Isle, and essentially, humanity suddenly discovering, oh wait, we're not alone in the universe. I think we might have a bigger fish to fry versus just humanity as a whole now and there. And essentially, world came together. They set up a team of scientists to study it, and the story kicks off 10 years after that, after the developing stuff like that. The day that the ship is, about to be remade and launched out. The name of the ship was the SDF-1, or Super-Dimensional Fortress, and essentially on that day when they launched the ship, sort of like booby trap the existence of, but suddenly reaching out with the aliens whose ship it was. It was the Zentradi, found it. So humanity is thrust into a war of that. At the time, they were 50 feet tall. So that's why the Battleoid mode exists. Because if you gotta handle some things. But, fighter jet for speed, gearwalk for mobility, and then Battleoid for the we need something to be able to handle things on a large scale. Also to compete, with the size of them, because, the whole, how to handle things in a large space environment. But after all said and done on that one there, essentially what happens is, in order for the ship to escape, it has to do something known as a hyperspace fold, which is essentially, if you know what hyperspace is, essentially it is entering hyperspace and have to do that partially above the surface, and it took part of the town with it that have helped grow, help, the people that were doing the research, known as Macross City, and that's where that part comes from. As one of the interesting things, the way the whole franchise has been is it helps show a lot of different aspects of the world. Like at the time, one of the things you really would notice is the whole human side of things. The non-combatants. You want to do right here, leap around here, blast that there. As you can see where the giant lasers are going to be because they show that one. Also, this is the piece I like to call Dancing with the Game because we're taking out a giant fleet. I forget what his name is, like something. Very famous piece on that one there. This is like, one of the huge jazz numbers. I mean, you have to admit, the soundtrack, I can't stress that enough. They've had a lot of different albums over the years, a lot of, I think it's been at least 2 stage tours. A lot of other little things, so we're just going to loop around here for the attack. This is the piece that gives you a defensive buff. And like I said, I like to call this dancing with the game because I'm doing a lot of dodges here and there, just like looping with the music. If you're wondering why I'm keeping the attack up instead of like not doing it, instead of using it sparingly, well, if it's not going to not decrease my attack, and it's not going to lag the game, I will take I can just keep up a good rate of fire. Do that there, pop that there, take care of that, and then avoid that last attack because you still actually have a hitbox. You've healed the boss, but you still have a hitbox, and I don't know anybody else that's like gotten to the end of a stage, no matter what game, and just waiting for it to end. There's like that one enemy projectile left on the screen, and you figure, okay, I can just, it's got no hitbox, battle's done, and then you suddenly die and have to repeat a stage. That's not a good thing. So, loading up stuff. Luckily, I am playing this on the digital version and Switch 2, so let me rephrase that. Switch 2, digital version, and internal hard drive, so fastest loads on that one there. Also, shoutouts to the Switch 2 so far. One of the reasons I actually picked it up was because of, not so much, wanting it, but more of I had a day one Switch, and, day one Switch and speedrunning. Although I had to pick up a second one for my significant other, but that's maybe because hers had some battery issues and a few other things, and Wi-Fi had started to act up after getting it fixed the first time, so it was like hers, which was a year one Switch, genuinely on its last leg, so it's like I had told her whenever that came out, I would be genuinely like, this is your birthday gift for the year, this is your Christmas, like all the special holiday type things. And even then, I'll cover most of it for that one type situation, so it's sort of like, and yes, I, like most others, have not picked up many games for the system, because even I will flat out refuse to pay $70 and $80, and dear God, Nintendo, actually learn your audience again nowadays. Then again, I think also the fact is that they are not trusting their marketing as much, and what's really hurting them is that the way that their bundles are set up, I believe, is you have the system, your download code technically counts as a sale instead of counting it as a bundle. So they misread the information. That's why they thought Mario Kart was a good idea and that people would buy it, because all the times that Mario Kart has been in a bundle. Also, say hi to the fourth of the different styles of smut gameplay, the sort of Star Fox's style. But as I was saying, essentially essentially for that one, how best to say it's like they read all that stuff as a sale instead of like, okay, this is a semi-pack-in title, which I know, yes, you're technically buying it for more price and all that stuff like that, but that does make a huge difference on sales. Whereas if you're like, I'm spending $80 for it instead of I'm paying $50 for this with the system. So that's sort of a one of those things where Nintendo in my opinion, misread the numbers, and that's why they thought something like Mario Kart would be better for that one there versus something like Pokemon Bonanza. Shoutouts to an amazing game on that one there. And now, hardest boss in the game here. So let me align this up perfectly. Pop this there. Hardest boss in the game. Hardest boss in the game. Line up here. Line up here. That's what I'm trying to tell. This is the music. Like I said, hardest boss in the game. Line up here. Pop that there. Hardest boss in the game. Of course, I'm joking here. The fact is that since both of those ships have hitboxes and they're trying to hurt the boss, full screen missile attack clears them out very, very easily, making this one of the easiest bosses in the game. But you can't help but do that old joke about the old like speedrunner joke about that kind of bosses. As it just ends up being more amusing. Now, remember to mention, this is the DLC stage that is mentioned as part of the run. In any percent, since it is not on every version of the game, because of the PC, or not being there unless you're playing, Japanese version of it, it's not required for any percent. That includes the DLC character you get with it, which is the main character from the original Macross. I will just use its English name, which is Rick. Don't ask me to pronounce his Japanese name right now. But essentially, it's not required, and because it's not required, it being a separate stage, it's a sort of like, you don't need to play it normally, so that's why this becomes a sort of, bonus thing for marathons. Here, that's here. This is also where, by default, min-main stage would be. Oh, there's my first step. Trying to avoid attacks while speaking on that one there, but we're gonna restart. And you can see exactly, like, starting the beginning of the stage instead of a section. That's usually where most of the estimate goes, because you can't control things on that one there. And normally how shmups and beat-em-ups, how taking a death will, usually lower the difficulty for some things. Not in this game, because you only have one life. So that's sort of why it's imperative that you don't have to play perfectly. It is a time loss, and once you see or one play it clear is usually optimally what you want to try to go for. But in essence, it's sometimes just the game where you will take a death. Instead of having it be like old school where you just continue onward. I'm gonna pop it. Just attack here and clear out the enemies. Essentially, because of stuff like that, it sort of makes it to where, like, you save the most time because you're not having to redo things. Again, this is where you can see me being a little out of practice, is sort of hindering me a bit on some things, but we'll line up there again. Save that quick second. And these stages are also a bit harder to get to the music because of the second thing. So we'll flip into Battle Loop. Then we're going to go down here. Line up there, line up here. Line up here, get rid of that there. Down here, line up. Now, I may be making this look a bit easier, but in order to actually transition from one spot to the other, I am actually having to use the second analog stick while holding it a button, to attack. And getting good with, like, good, character movement with two analog sticks, highly, highly, highly recommended. Underrated skill that a lot of speedrunners tend to forget about sometimes. We'll line up there, line out to use the thing to get rid of things. Here, line up here. Line up here. Line up here, avoid those there. Try not to take a small hit, pop that there. These are missiles here. Because it's very hard to actually get the deal damage here, it's just easier for me to use the missiles. And and avoid things from that one there. Set that up there, and we'll take care of the boss here. Sometimes, like, for the music, it's sometimes based off the jammers, which are those little satellites, and a few other things with score to get that one. Also, salute the SDF-1, as that is a huge reference to Do You Remember Love? Which sort of was a retelling of the events of the first series, which Japan has I won't say habit of doing, but for some franchises they do that. Like, that's why you see 3 movies for Zeta Gundam. I think they did one for Double Zeta, and other stuff like that. But we've now reached the Alluring Planet, or basically Earth. This is the stage that's meant to represent Shin and Macross Zero, which I will admit, still haven't yet to see it, but Shin is my preferred character because he reminds me of the hero from the old Robotech game, Robotech Battle Cry, which is how I got my start on a lot of these type of games. Although, shoutouts to that one not being a SMUP, because it's rare for the developers to do non-SMUPs for Macross for some reason. And Robotech being, piece with the first game. Not first game, but first anime. Oh, there's the second death. Luckily, it was close to the beginning of the stage. This is where you can see that tiny bit of game rust, but it's also you can shake that off while doing a run, and again, character safety and marathon safety. Like that there, line up here, quickly do some flicks with the missiles. As although Shin has more missiles, you see that lack of power in his missiles, but having the ability to hit more enemies, even though his cone for missiles, or his range, I guess, for targeting, which you do have to target in order to fire them, coming into play. I mean, it's not the worst, because it actually clears the whole stage, hits everything, range-wise on screen, unlike some of the others where they may only have a few, but they do have, like some of the others where it doesn't have as much range on it. But that's one of the reasons why I like using Shin versus the others, because the spread character barely has, like, the missiles range, like, right here, like, barely anything. Only gets like 4, so that's one of the reasons why the spread is not the best, even though it's pretty good for damage output, but not as good because you want to concentrate your fire. One of the others has got like that sort of like moves based off of how you are, so like it's sort of like a semi-spread, but it's in a it's sort of like a wavy style pattern. Shin's of course got the giant laser. Satomi here has that giant laser like I'm using here, which is pretty good. Plus also his dodges are very good for avoiding things. Shin has something very similar to it, which is why it makes it a bit easier to transition between things. His is just the standard like machine gun style thing. And the last one I forget like what it is. And the DLC character just has something like similar to it, but has a god amount of missiles, so that's like it's sort of like is the best for like if you're going for pure damage with missiles. It's great for that one, but without doing a lot of damage, it's the whole idea of what deals more damage, one giant hit or lots of small damage. It's at a very high amount of times you do it. So say hi to Sunny Apple, which is why you see the human and the sort of thing in the background from Macross Plus. Still, highly recommend that one. So, this is this boss is done in that 4th frontal perspective, and because the only thing that it does in Phase 1 is fires this laser, we're going to just wait here so you can all hear the music. And this is one of the things that makes a marathon run of this actually a lot easier than most things, because I normally would not be letting myself, regain health, because ideally you want to go as fast as possible, but marathon safety, of course. Sorry about that. My old monitor is deciding to act up a bit and turn itself off. Like I said, we're just going to wait here, regain health, just fire our laser here. Another thing is that because this is a giant hitbox up there, it is a lot easier to just do things. This boss is designed for, this piece is designed for the one that does not have a lot of stuff, for the boss of stage 4, which was that long corridor style thing that we're just going to just ourselves here. Fire laser again. Do the hit, but do that there. Maintain level 5 of our laser, and we're just about hit to the final stage. It's a stage based off of Shooting Insight itself. So we're lining things up. The boss's name is Birdman, if I recall correctly from at least reading the descriptions of episodes. Like I said, I have not had time to watch the whole show. Well, all the franchise. I mean, multiple animes from 40 plus years. Like at least a lot of them having at least 25 or more episodes. I mean, it's not One Piece anime level bad, but sorry, One Piece fans, I can't help but say that. But essentially, it's not that bad. But at the same point, timetable, and actual having the time. Line up here, line there. Goes there, get that there. Line there. Lucky for us, we do get a whole medley of stuff here. Although it does sometimes change, based on character, what pieces you get. We'll avoid that there. There, missiles there. Missiles there. Missiles there. Line there, like that. Line there. Like up there. Over there, hit that there, get the crystal there, line up there. Avoid some of the attacks here. Luckily we get like some of the stuff here. Pop that there, so I don't die. Because that is one of the things, like, if I were to show the difference in health, you'd immediately be able to notice that the health amount does change. It is reflective of what you'll have with health. I shouldn't say health, but as far as just like how much you have. And one of the things you cannot do is launch your missiles while firing a laser. So you have to sort of take that like split second of losing fire there to be able to actually launch your missiles. So you gotta pick those strategically. I'm going to lead some attacks, roll as quick as I can. Sort of, focused in on remembering Shin, who does not have his dodge roll is a bit slower. So, it's in the estimate. So, and luckily we're going in with a bit more health. So, consider that again, derusting. By derusting, I mean like it's not that hard to derust from a shmup, as skill set is one of those that like it does transfer pretty good from multiple games. Now multiple characters, that's a different story. Take that there, fly there. Quickly pop those two, there. Rid of that there. Launch missiles there. Also so used to Shin being able to one-shot those because this missiles having more power to it. Quickly move there. That way. Quickly do some quick flicks of the analog stick. If a character like Satomi, you want to essentially have his missiles on and then essentially have him fire out a second immediately with the same enemies you hit, fire that up with this laser. Sort of that overlapping damage to some degree. You want to just do just enough to actually make sure you can get rid of them while having the ability to avoid attacks. have a little, I would say, disco party. Yeah, phone on that one there, but that's just more reminding me about something I've got set up tomorrow, wise. So I'm gonna quickly do that there. I have to take my actual eyes off the screen real quick, but I picked a spot where I know I can safely do that. That's one of those things where you learn, like, I got a second here that I can, safely do stuff like that in these type of games. Plus also multitasking is just one of those things I am actually halfway decent at. But that is a good tip for anybody, regardless of, whatever type of game they're speedrunning. Find those spots where if you need to do something, even if it's a quick thing, that you can in a speed run, with just like, okay, I can quickly turn or do something with the offhand. There. Yeah, we get the defensive bonus. This here, avoid stuff here. Quickly flick. You may only get a certain number of missiles at a time, but if you quickly flick, you can actually launch a lot of stuff out quickly. Up around here. Avoid all the enemies here. Here, ties down there. Got tagged with that one there. Avoid that there. Just gonna loop around here, line up, and we'll begin with the game in a minute. Just turn into a battle royale. Avoid this enemy here, pop it, attack there. Gotta try to survive stuff. Around the screen, avoid stuff there. Need to save just enough of my actual missile power up for the boss upcoming. Missile power up, but the actual stuff on that one there, and have enough health to do it. It's one of the things that's coming up. Pop a quick thing there. Dynamite explosion, which, like I said, you'll all get to hear some of it. Line up there, so we'll get rid of all the enemies there. And nicely going on health. Line up here. Also, time is coming up once the boss is killed. It's a very noticeable thing on that one there. But I won't say anything on that one just yet, just in case of taking a death down. I hope not. There. Just be about coming up to it. And we're into the final boss, which is a 3-stage fight like all the others, but it changes perspectives, going from top down to vertical, other stuff there. Pop that there. Line up here. Take out phase 1. Now we're hoping to save a little bit on that one. Also, shout out to Dynamite Explosion, giving an increase to attack. Okay, have to take out the final boss without the missiles. I was hoping to actually have that because of the third thing being here to clear out attacks. Please let me avoid the damage. Yeah, you got that. Oh, for the love of. Well, here's the question. Hey, Tortorose, how much time do I have left?
9 minutes.
Okay, then yes, I can actually go for a second shot at the stage. Because remember what I said about dying at the very end for stages? Well, you can count that as that's what happens when you die at the last hit of a boss. Luckily, unlike some games where it ends up being a soft block, shout out to the original Mega Man X, where they deliberately have it written in the rules that if you die to Sigma on the last hit, it does not count. So I'll take the extra thing on that one there. That is also a very rare thing to do. On that one there. It can happen, but yeah, about the still having a hitbox thing that I said. That just shows exactly why I said about how it does still happen. Put that there, more missiles, line up there, line up there, set up perfectly there. Like I said, just trying to actually line up the missiles so I can hit them and then follow up with the actual normal attacks. You do have to actually enjoy this piece of it. The only piece you all didn't get to hear was the one from Shins. That's because it's the idol character in that one's considered one of the weakest ones, though it goes with more of a gospel style for that one. Yep, go like that, there, or line over there. Sometimes you gotta try to use your iframes where you can. Iframes being short for invisibility frames for those that are not aware, but I'm assuming most of us are aware of what the term means, but just in case. Line up here so that way you can lead the attacks. The dodge roll. So I'm not doing as many dodging as I could, but that's because it's a lot harder to maintain damage. And when I am, I'm trying to actually dodge roll in such a way that I am descending it. So, sort of that, dodge in a certain way, because I could just choose to dodge, like this. But if I can dodge it like this, which is possible, it's just a lot harder to do. Because it requires actually positioning your finger on an analog stick, to be a certain way. Now I could use the D-pad, but sort of that, like, you pick the spots to actually where things can be done. If you're controlling a character, the easiest for you. That there. And luckily going in full health, plus that there, shouldn't be that hard now. I gave it estimate for a possibility of death on that one there. And the thing about Tony is, this is why I said, like, the category might be normal, difficulty-wise, but that less, that least amount of health actually does make a difference. Sort of that, like, may look a bit easier, on paper, but it's, sort of that, because you have less health, mistakes add up more. So, spots where you could, like, okay, I took a hit, but I'm still, good, is like a, huge difference. As you can all see, I'll pop it this here. This is also where you start to see, like, where the differences in, like, difficulty when you have more enemies on screen, affecting, like, what you would have to deal with and where you would be dodging. Because when you can lead certain attacks in certain directions, it does change things. Avoid things here. Pop a assist attack here. Move here. Line up here. Line up down here. Line over here. Doing good there, so we should be able to get some stuff there. Line over here. The attacks off screen. Now, higher skilled smut runners, we would actually try for, not doing all that and get everything perfect, but I'll be honest, I'm not the best at it. I mean, yes, I beat this game on very hard mode to even have world record for that one with a 1cc, but that is like the only time I've ever done that, and that was with Shin. So, we gotta go here. Pop that here. Pop that there. Okay. We have enough assist attacks, so we should be able to finish the boss out. Pop that there just to actually, get through there. Okay. Should have just enough for being able to spam that there. Hopefully. Should have just enough to spam it. And just enough to survive it. Want the full assist attack bonus there? Actually do that with there. So, yep. Time will be when the screen fades to white. So you'll be able to notice it pretty easily enough. Well, I tried to get my monitor to stop acting up. Now and time. I'm assuming you got it on that one. But that's Macross Shooting Insight. What was my final time? Sorry, y'all. I told you, my old monitor likes acting up. Come on. I would not recommend, doing that old, smacking a TV, but that's sort of like what it does to get it to work. There we go. Like I said, using my secondary monitor on that one there, but as I said, that was time. So, what was the final result?
Oh, sorry. 59 seconds. 58 minutes and 14 seconds.
Did it stop sooner, or... It's all good. Like I said, you said I had 9 minutes, so figured it was best to just retry and showcase that one. Because I could technically count the game over as it, because the final boss was dead. But I prefer to actually... You can't see me gesture at the arms pointing at screen right now, chat. But, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But, thanks for having me, even on a short notice. And we'll just quickly show the whole thing out. Overall, not that bad for a rank. And even if you notice the clear time with that does actually not take into account loads. But the other problem is that although you could use it, it doesn't take into account loads, but it also does not take into account deaths. So, sort of like how you technically could for any games that have in-game time. Oh, I'm not doing this stage well enough. Okay, reset. This stage, but that's sort of in an RTA setting quite different. But
yeah,
that's sort of why that's not counted on that one there. But thanks again for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you that you had time to showcase this one.
Not a problem. Like I said, I'm planning to stream later today to do something for one of my other games. Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 Trials to Glory World Championship 2005, because want to brush up on something as a marathon submission for RPG Limit Break. But hey, once the marathon's over, although it'll be in an hour or two, but feel free to come over to mageius1 on Twitch. That's MAGEIUS and then just the number 1, and check that out later on after the marathon is over. Thanks again for having me.
Okay, that marks the end for SouthTyrol meets Speedruns Carnival Edition. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for the raid, DBK, and we see us tomorrow over on Total Runs with Mario 64. Thanks for watching and bye.